Happy Thursday. Happy November. I know this is our second week of November. Happy, oh my gosh, do y'all know? Oh, I just thought about it was something else I thought that I was another way I was gonna go with the show this week, but doesn't matter. I totally forgot, but me just remembering that this week, not that it's the month, but this week is National Hug Week. Isn't that cute? That is so cute. I was gonna come up with a whole acronym for hug, but I forgot. Anywho, welcome back to another episode of the B Mix right here, only on BigExposedRadio.com. You already know who Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time are for: the unseen, the unheard, the overlooked, the forgotten, whether it be the forgotten part of you or for the person that does not belong anywhere, me, B. So welcome or welcome back. While we're in the swing of welcoming back, welcome back our special guest, Jasmine. Hey, Jasmine.
Thank you.
Yay. Y'all, she keep coming back, y'all. We ain't scared away yet. Isn't that a blessing? Listen, man, it's the love for me. I appreciate it. You don't even understand. I mean that. I don't take it lightly. Like, I legit mean it. Like, you're just gonna keep on coming back? That's amazing.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. It gives me fuzzies. All right, y'all, for real. I'm going to I'm laughing because I know exactly what I'm about to say before y'all hear. Okay, so I'm going to try my best to stay on task. The struggle is, I don't know what the task is, because when I say coming into this show this week, y'all, I didn't know what we was fitting to talk about until I text you like an hour ago.
Yeah.
Oh, child. But we're here. We are here. So I'm gonna keep us right on rolling. Oh my goodness, how did I skip that? Oof, forgive me for real. Above all else, of all the happies, happy Thursday, happy November again, happy National Hug Week, happy Veterans Day, man. Like, happy Veterans Day. Thank you. Not from the bottom, but with all of my heart. Here on the B Mix, we say thank you for your service. We salute you for taking that pledge of service to protect us from on this land and land afar. We really, really appreciate you. Okay? All right. I had to get that one out the way, child, because, oh, Lord. Okay. So our moment of a history of racial injustice, brought to you by Equal Justice Initiative, my favorite calendar. November 11th. First of all, it's 11/11/21. Does that not do something for everybody? I love it. I don't know. It's just
today's actually my cousin's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, cousin!
Right.
Look, just cousin.
Right. And I told her when she told me, because you know how you have cousins that you don't know or don't interact with, you get close. And I'm like, when she told me her birthday, I was like,
right? Like, that's your birthday. You get to celebrate that every year.
Right. I was like, that's a powerful number.
Yes.
So yeah.
I love that. Happy birthday, cousin. All right. I love it. Okay. So November 11th in 1831, Nat Turner, the Black leader of an anti-slavery revolt, is hanged in Jerusalem, Virginia. So I know I just brought a damper on our 11/11. But I think that in light of, him being hung, of all the work that he has, all the legacy rather that he has left for us to cherish, it's just that let's hone in on that, even though this date is shared for the day that he lost his life, but or that it was taken from him rather. But to remember all that he has done, all that he stood for, and all the work that we still have left to do in his honor. So, Nat Turner, we salute you from here on the Phoenix. Oh, child. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Usually, I think for the most part, I get around to reading our moment beforehand, and so I got excited. That's what I get. I didn't read. It's so short too. Usually they are kind of long in the box, and this one was so short. I got excited when I saw his name. So I was like, okay, and I didn't read the whole thing, and so I didn't know that it was going to bring my mood down a little bit.
I know it was. Listen, it caught me off guard. And I didn't mean, and when you were like, I didn't mean to damper the mood. Like, I just felt like I was like, damn. I just
brought it on down. Wasn't no gradual. It's just whoop, like it caught me off guard, and I was reading it. Like, whoop, I'm Nat Turner. I humbly apologize. Whew, I was not prepared. I love that you brought up your cousin because y'all, this week we are getting into, we just here to have another good old conversation. Just can we just talk about family? Can we just do that? Mi familia. Like I know that in times, especially around the conversations that we have about, here on the B-Mix, we talk a lot about reflection, self-reflection, and then we have the queen of self-care and self-love, right? And so when we delve into the things that help us to get or to ignite our healing journeys, I know that we get into talking about maybe like past traumas with family and just past hurts or even carrying hurts or whatever that is. And that is fine. You're still allowed to, and we still urge you, to work through those things. But I also realize that we need to be sure to keep the balance. I don't even want to say find the balance. You maintain the balance of appreciating what it is that we do have, what we have in family, what the family that we do have, the family that we were brought into for whatever reason, somehow, somewhere. God thought it was okay to put me into the family that I'm in. But hey, I'm here and I'm proud of it, right? I'm knowing all that I know, knowing all that I even, still want to work through and work, not even work to get over, but just work through. I still appreciate family. And what brought me to even wanting to just have this conversation about it today is because I recently lost my I think is that 1 grade or 2? Great aunt Bertha. So rest in peace to Bertha Mae Hawkins, y'all. Shout out to her, man. Beautiful.
Is May her last name?
Mm-hmm.
May is part of her. Does she have a hyphenated last name?
No, that's her middle. Well, it's like Bertha Mae, but because I was like, that's her middle name? Well, yeah, I don't think it's hyphenated. Like her first name isn't hyphenated, so it's just Bertha Mae. So May is middle name. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a good question. And don't give me the line on her maiden name. Okay.
One of my great grandmother's name was actually May.
Oh,
okay. And then I think my father's mom's last name was May. Oh. So like May on all right.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. I get where you were going. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, her. And dang it, I just left I meant to actually bring it in. I was going to share it. I was gonna share it though. It's in the newspaper, her obituary. But I was just gonna have it with me for whatever reason. But yeah, so that's her middle name. I'm sure that I'm right about that. I'm in my brain. I'm just trying to figure like what is her maiden name. I have no clue. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I going to the viewing just today with my dad. It's crazy because so that's my father's side. My paternal grandfather's side of the family. So it's my father's side, and so my dad always like reverences his dad. Like he loves his daddy, right? Talks about how stern he was, how mean he was, but just in a way of that a man loves another man, like loves his dad. And so which I can appreciate, even with like I said, and so of course yes, we fall into the different loopholes of like, well, I didn't know this, or I wish I could have known that, or this or that. But I just literally just staying in the light of family tonight, of just like that being a positive thing right there. I hold on to that. And one thing, just to dip for a second, that I do hate though is that I don't know my father's side of the family really at all. And definitely not my father's side. Like, do not know, but I know that I come from a huge family. So the crazy part to find out is that just the Hawkins alone, and there were a lot of people there just for the viewing today. And so I was told that just the Hawkins part of my family is huge. Like he was like, it was one person's wedding. He was like, there were 300 people already there. And then the rest of the family was trying to get in. Like, it was like, right. People. Like they said that back in the day when they had like, because I want to call it what I've learned that they called it in the South. Before I say that, what are we family reunions. When they used to have family reunions, that they said that just the Hawkins alone were showing up by the buses. Like, sheesh, like, you know what I mean? Wow. So it's crazy. And so I just, it just gave me like feels today. Like, oh man, like it was so good. People just hugging and like, oh, okay, like you're Ben's youngest, okay. Because my dad's named after his dad, and then I'm named after my dad. So, they all like talk about that. And so my great aunt Bertha, her sister Free, she remembered me, like, because she was I'm sure out of that like cluster that I'm putting together, right? So it's not like I know this, but just putting stuff together of being there, that she just remembered, like you could tell, like she was like the matriarch. It's like the one person everybody seemed to definitely be going to at the funeral or the viewing. And so everybody's going there, and immediately she was just like, oh, this is Benia. Oh my goodness. Like, yeah, she's grown up. No, I haven't seen her since she was like this tall, but I remember her. They remember me by being the one that Listen, little black girl, little black boy, little girl, correct them every time, okay? If they don't remember nothing else, they will remember that you corrected them about your name. Okay, listen, my aunt was just like, I remember you. And now throughout the whole night, she kept just repeating my name, and like the way I must have like said it, that apparently I was just known for like spelling and correcting somebody for mispronouncing my name. And it's like, Lord, look how many times in my adulthood that I have allowed somebody to be like Benita, and I'd be like, okay, just whatever, just come on. Like my dad does not play.
It's so funny because I find that it sometimes seems like people are just really, I don't want to say lazy. But I guess I would say lazy because and it's always those names that end with IA that like people want to create their own way to pronounce it. And it's like, first of all, if I tell you my name one time, it's not anything like foreign. Like, yeah, it might not be a name you've heard before,
right?
But
girl,
I've witnessed it. Now, luckily, I have a name that it's kind of common. People don't mess it up. Yeah. But even still, when I hear other people mess up names that to me is so simple,
girl,
in my mind, I'm just like,
right. Like how? How did you do that? Literally, it's exactly that. It's either you're being lazy or you're working too hard unnecessarily. Mm-hmm. Why would you want to do either? Like the lazy I kind of get, but saying somebody's name, and I love it because it has fueled me to always make sure that I get the correct. Yes.
Jasmine. Where's my Jasmine dress?
Where's your Jasmine costume? I'm not sure. It might be upstairs in your room. If it's not hanging upstairs, how did all the beads come off your bracing?
I don't know. Keep coming off. Because they're grandmas.
They're grandmas? So you left out the house? You did not come in. Okay. You want to say hi to Princess Jasmine?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, Lord.
Hi, Princess Sydney.
Hi.
Say hi, everybody.
How are you?
Hi.
I heard you were trying to dress up as me.
Trying to dress up as her? As Princess Jasmine?
Yes.
Yes, you can't find it. You have to look real good. Look upstairs. I'm sure it's in your room. Okay. If it's not, I'll be with all the rest of your princess dresses.
I love that she calls me Princess Jasmine. My grandfather, speaking of family, my grandfather actually used to call me Pop Pop's princess.
Oh.
And so that was the big deal.
That is a big deal.
I don't think that I've been called princess since. But now, I'm declaring the whole queen me thing. So
okay. I haven't called princess since because I turned into a queen.
When the princess turns into a queen.
Period. And see, that is so, I love that. Oh, shout out to you, Papa. I love that because it's so important, again, about just family and like the importance of family, of the good that we can hold on to is the deposits. We talked about deposits a little while ago, of just the deposits that, or the impressions even more so even further than deposits, the impressions that are left upon us and the imprints that are left on us from family. And like, that is such a positive one, like, I'm not going to say like, oh, because he called you princess, that's how, but I always do think of like correlation of just like, come on, queen me, like,
right.
Yes, ma'am. And it's because, well, when I was younger, my papa called me princess. So I knew I was royalty. I just found my lane, period. Like,
and like Sydney, I dressed up as Princess Jasmine every Halloween for like 5 years.
As you should. You need help to put your top on? You found it? Good job. Okay, let's just get your top on. There we go. We found Princess Jasmine, everybody.
And I'm thinking, and another thing too to bring up. Oh, congrats, Sydney and Joy.
You said congrats.
But like you, I also am not close to my father. And I was actually just talking about this the other day. It's so funny that you said that. Now, mine's I think is a little bit deeper because I actually like don't know my father's family at all, like his biological family.
Gotcha.
And so I've told my father and my grandmother, because his mother is still living, like, don't you think it's kind of like necessary? Like, he has other children and I'm a single Black woman. Baltimore is small.
Talk, Jasmine. Talk, Jasmine. Talk, Jasmine. Listen.
So, yeah, you know, the last thing I want is to get in a relationship.
My cousin.
Have intercourse.
With my cousin.
Get married.
With my cousin.
With my cousin.
With my cousin.
Like, come on.
Listen, I finally, and I know I told Joe a while ago, but I finally like had this, like, it wasn't even in depth, but just, it was definitely more in depth than I've ever, because I tried to ask him only once, more of an in-depth conversation with my dad about the incident I told y'all about, like, met somebody and then, like, initially, like, learned his last name, not Richardson. Oh, Lord. Then he told me, you know, like, just a refresher for any first-time viewer, that, long story short, I had met a guy. I feel like, as far as I knew, because we didn't get to know each other long, but all that I could tell, that was the only reason that I just could not talk to him. That was a big one. But still, so meet him, learn that his last name is the same as mine. And then what made matters worse, for me, one, it was that he was pretty nonchalant about it, because and I give kudos though, because of course I'm always thinking things different, deeper, and so thinking of like what's in between the lines as well, like the difference between me not being very sure of, you know, my father's side of his family. He references his family all the time. He talks about all the different memories that he has, and just to be around him. Oh, my dad was just, he could not stop talking. He's around everybody, hugging, laughing, ha ha ha. And my dad is, let me be very clear, my dad is very mean. He is very stern, like he don't play. So to see him just really enjoying himself was a good thing, right? And so still, even with him representing his family so much, I've even tonight, I told him, like, you know, all my life has always been like, he will refer to somebody and say, like, yeah, my cousin such and such. And it's just like, well, if I'm your daughter, that's my cousin too. Like, I should know them. I should know that, right? So I'm sure there's something unsettled there. Like, was there a something? Is it why my mother didn't want me around? I don't know. Who knows, right? And so just trying to forget about that and just really just was able to just enjoy tonight, right? And so, but the back to the point for any new viewers, just to catch y'all up, is that, like I said, I met someone and then it wasn't even a long time ago, I think like a month or so ago. Anyway, and so learned that his last name is also Richardson, and so he was nonchalant about it. That was definitely like, but to learn that the difference is he was nonchalant because he was sure of his family. He said he knew. He was like, I ain't never seen no pictures. None of our gatherings, like nothing. Like, I know my family, like, all right, trigger, but also the second hang up for me, or third rather, it was the Richardson thing, him being nonchalant, and then which even though I understood him being nonchalant, but still, it was too nonchalant for me. And then the third hang up was the fact that he said it's something along the lines of like his grandmother, that she's where Richardson came from or whatever, right? As far as he remembers back. But really what her other name, I don't even think it was marriage. It was just like what the other name, her other family name or whatever was Jones. So I don't think it was like maiden name versus married name. It was just something. And so Jones is my mother's maiden name. I said, not cousins on both sides. No, we can't do that. No, sir. And then it would take like a study between my father's father and my mother's father, the two parts of my family I absolutely, because it's the four parts, right? The two that I absolutely know nothing about. No, sir. Like, no, I cannot. He's hit me up even quite a few times. Like, sometime, like, down the road's been like, hey, have I not heard from you just because you still think we possibly related? Yes, that's exactly it. God bless you, though. Like, stay out, cousin. Like, but
see you at the reunion, because I'm going to figure it out.
Okay. And see, my problem is, I even told him, I just told my dad this earlier. I was like, I legit said, I said to the guy, I was like, I'll be honest, I'm not even vested enough to even like do all this research to find out if you are, if you're not. It's just, I'm in my head about it. I would never be able to get over. You could not stand up in my wedding and say, you know, you are now Mr. and Mrs. Richardson, and everybody looking like, but that's already her name. It can't happen. I cannot do that.
So you really want to change it?
Oh, good question. So, and this is a topic I have been saying I wanted to get on, and I will definitely commit like a whole show to this one day. It's funny because, so I'll really be transparent and say who I think that God may or may not have told me or shown me is my husband. That's the only time I've ever considered that I would actually change my last name. What I always thought is that I would hyphenate my last name. And I didn't realize that it was worth a full-on conversation until I started learning that there are just women out here that think differently. I then had to go back and realize, well, why have I always thought automatically that I would hyphenate? And I know because my mother had hyphenated her name easily. Like I was in Jones Richardson, like easy. So I don't know. I have to now leave it at, I don't know. It may or may not, especially because now I think of just all that I'm building. Like I ain't saying I'm one of them people that's like, that's not my name, but you know, but
I get it.
I don't know. How about you?
And it's funny because I never really gave it too much thought, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was always like, for a good amount of time, I was just like, well, yeah, I guess I'll change my name, right? Okay. And like every time I start messing with somebody and I get super excited, I'm like, well, yeah, let me see if my name.
Right. You have to, Jazz. You have to. If your name don't fit, it must have quit. We not gonna work.
We not a match.
Like, we not gonna work. If I can't just told you. Okay.
But luckily, I feel like Jasmine goes with like almost everything though.
Yeah. Okay.
I ain't gonna lie. So many times I was gung ho and I was like, oh yeah, that's gonna work. Jasmine what? Jasmine please. Jasmine thanks.
Right.
My last name have been experimenting with.
It'd be like, this is when I meet somebody, like, are you? This could work. Okay. Let's see. Hilarious.
Ooh, hey, but you made me excited.
Right? No, really, right? And they'd be like, why? Oh, just because your last name works with my first name, but we'll see. Then I'll be worried about the initials too. Girl, I think all into it. So I'm glad to know I'm not by myself. No. So it's funny to bring up the fact that we're talking about family tonight and to bring up marriage, because I know that one thing I didn't make any notes. So thank you, Lord, for just helping me remember something that I said I wanted to bring up, because you saying that definitely just made me think of this, that I know a big thing for me is that I really, because again, to be there and just to like hear and learn, because I really, in my opinion, I don't know nobody. And so even we go to the house, you know, like I haven't had that experience. Like I just haven't, especially on my dad's side. And so I kind of remember way back when there was one cousin and you like I re-meet her and I'm just remember like, oh, I remember being younger and being at my grandmother's house and there was a funeral and she was there and whatever. That's all I remember though. And so she has a name that's kind of different. And so, but either way, I was paying attention to like, so being at the house, looking at pictures, right? And I'm seeing, I mean, even the slideshow at the viewing were some pictures where there were so many people in a picture. I'm like, that's just a family. That's a part of a family. That's amazing to me. Because one of my things that when I was talking about Black Boy Joy, were just things that, you know, bring me joy in general, right? Just visuals to see is like pictures of, especially old pictures. Oh, I love vintage pictures. But to see Black family, like a group of Black people, and like because you think of everything that goes into it. You mean to tell me y'all make before social media, before phones and cell phones, y'all got everybody together, got everybody, I guess, dressed alike or close or whatever, you know, clean and nice and got them standing and looking at a picture to smile, child. That's a lot right now. So all of that, like it had me thinking though, of just seeing those pictures and being with that same cousin, and she's like, she's like, oh yeah, that's such and such. She's like, yeah, I think that's such and such's wife. And so immediately it just made me think of like, bro, I've thought about this younger, like 20s Benia, but 30s and over Benia has to, like, it is a definite that I marry into a family that is just that, a family. I need that. That is like more than a necessity for me. Like I need to know your relationship with your family. I need to know the dynamic, right? And I'm not saying I need to know all the trauma and this and the third, because I get like, I do have to tell myself often like, Benia, a first date, because naive Benia used to be like, well, yeah, first day you need to be running everything down to me. I don't care. Like, I'm transparent. Why can't you be? But I understand that's not how it should or could work, whatever. But I realized like, no, say it.
I said I used to be like that, and sometimes I still am.
Listen, okay, right. You saw me struggle to say that.
Right. Because it's like, sometimes it's like,
just tell me.
I just need to know up front so I don't even get excited.
That's it. That's it. And then more so that way I can gauge if this is really what I want. Do I really want to, even try to be like, okay, well, you're nice and like, because I'm still struggling. I am still struggling to see myself like in a relationship with someone. I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen eventually, but for whatever reason, I cannot fathom. Like, I can't see it. It's weird. It's not one of those, like, I can't see it as in like something eventually, but I can't picture it. Like, like, wow. So I would just be talking to the, like, that's okay, I guess. Like, somebody would like me that.
I'm currently in the process of reevaluating my vision of or expectations of a relationship. Like, I always kind of had like this idea, and then when I got into the relationships, realizing that wasn't, I don't know if it wasn't real, realistic. I mean, realistic, or if it was really based on things I've seen in movies and TV shows, and thinking like, oh yeah, this is what this should look like, or this is what this will look like, and I ain't gonna lie, I am a person who loves the honeymoon phase. So like,
yes,
that's my jam. Like, if we could be in honeymoon phase forever,
right, then I would choose that.
But it's not realistic. And so then I have to remind myself, like, I would literally try to make a relationship stay in honeymoon phase, probably just because I'm the type of person that just be so excited. Like, I just be so excited.
Right.
Until things start annoying me, because then I could get a little itchy.
Got it, though. I hear you loud and clear.
Then that'll topple over, and so now we might be beefing. And it's like, what happened? Right. So we just got along, and we just like gazed in each other's eyes.
Look at me.
Yeah. He just randomly gave me kisses. Like, where did they go?
Where did Is this really that?
Yeah.
It's really that.
It's a struggle, and I'm trying to like lower my. Now, I don't want to say I'm lowering my expectations, but I do kind of want to say I have lowered my expectations, because I think that I have very high expectations, and that some of those high expectations are unrealistic.
Okay. Ooh, that's good. That's good, and that's profound. Like, that's a good pill to swallow.
But lowering the right one.
Right, there you go. Right. Because I love that. It's even powerful. Oh, Lord. Y'all, okay. Yeah. Yes, you're just. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to show her that.
Sometimes I even periodically I make a list. Like, I'll write a list of things that I want. I've made pros and cons of like definite things that I want, definite things I don't want. Or some stuff that I might could, be a little bit, maybe we can, it depends,
Now, this list, have you ever, because this is so good, because I'm thinking about the time, the only times that I've written lists has been in a relationship, and usually on the decline of the relationship. So on your list, are you talking about that you, in general, that you're saying, oh, I love that.
Yeah, what I want out of a relationship or out of a man, or like expectations.
That's good. That's so good.
Just even noticing some trends and some behaviors and things that I say that I want, but then it's like, sometimes you say you want certain things, and then when you get it, you realize maybe that's not what I want.
Exactly. Definitely not what I need. Because that's my thing. It's like, now I really need to have I really want to have what it is that I need. And I'm sure I'm learning that it just doesn't look like what it is that I thought it would have looked like. And so even when you talk about, I think you say traits or something, it makes me think about, I swear I had been on the radio today, I think, or just somewhere recent, it could have been social media, I can't remember, but at some point I've heard someone say that you have to consider, I think of course it's talking about like relationships like past, but you have to consider who you were with that person, who you became. Did you like that? And it's things that I've thought about. And I remember that being the basis of some of my like frustration and I guess my perspective of an argument or a debate of being like, I don't even like who I am with you anymore, or who I'm turning into, become like, I don't want to be this person. I'm fussy, I'm naggy. Like I pride myself on not being a nag, like, because I know that I am a wife, and I now know when talking about like differences between, or really wanting what it is that I need someone that has always known that he's a husband. Or that knows that, because that does make you, it just makes you consider things differently. It doesn't, hopefully it doesn't allow you just, hand that thing on out, all willy-nilly, because
that is important, because a lot of guys, there are guys that don't want that. And like, I've met plenty of guys that's like, oh no, I'm not, I don't want a girlfriend. Like that's not even on my radar.
Right.
So if I know that like, ultimately, I'm trying to be somebody's even girlfriend, maybe wife. Certain things I just like through life experiences and through like things that I've seen, I still wonder if that's even something that I actually really truly want.
Okay.
Being married is one of them, but I it's still very high on my like want list. Right? But I could also see myself saying, could I see myself getting married, or could I see myself in like just a long-term committed relationship? But the reason why I say I couldn't see myself doing that is for one main reason. I know I have had like relatives of an older nature,
Going right to where I wanted to go.
Right.
Go ahead.
And so my uncle, he was with his long-term girlfriend for 20 plus years or something. And so even though they had built this life together, in the eyes of the law and in the eyes of my family, when he passed away, they didn't feel like she was entitled to much, where she felt like she was, because that essentially was hers, like the house they lived in and things like that. And so, or even like the car. And so that was a big thing. Like my family pretty much told her she didn't deserve anything. And I kind of felt bad for her, only because they had been together so long. I called her my aunt, even though she wasn't.
Right.
So in that regard, and even with me just being in a 3-year relationship with my boyfriend that passed away when I was younger, his family not acknowledging me on the obituary. They just called me a special friend, but they didn't like put my name. And I felt kind of like we lived together. We both had the same, like the situation happened to both of us. But I mean, now that I've gotten a little older, I guess I can potentially see where they were coming from with it, because we were so young. Maybe they didn't feel like my name needed to be permanently in his obituary that other people would look back on for years to come. Like, oh yeah, and Jasmine Russell. Like, okay, so she's probably
oh my God, don't
moved on and got a new boyfriend by now. Because I was, at the time of his death, I was 20.
Wow. And
he was 23.
Okay.
But for me, it hurt so bad, just because, that was my person at the time. Like our name was on a lease together. Like we had been together for multiple years. And in my mind, before his death, I foresaw us getting married and like having kids and everything, the whole nine. But yeah.
Ooh, that's heavy. I am, me, I have to be me and acknowledge your feelings, your experience. That is heavy for me, because I can't imagine. I will tell you that. There are definitely things. This is exactly why I carry life this way, and I've always carried life this way, that I don't care what it is that I've gone through. I'm never trying to like one up somebody with, oh, well, I went through this. Well, I went through this. Like, there are just some things that I know I am not meant to deal with, and that is one. So I could only imagine, but good for you as far as being able to even consider like, oh, I'm sure this is probably, you know, where they were coming from, what they probably thought. Good for you. Because I ain't gonna lie, me speaking from something that I haven't experienced, I'd be on some like, no, no, I don't get it. I don't appreciate it. They shouldn't have all of that. But it makes me think, oh, that's what it is. I forget. Yes, Maui. Everybody just want to talk to mommy right now. But what was I about to say? Oh, that when you talked about your uncle and just talking about that, it was something right before you said that though. And when you started talking about your uncle, it made me think of just like earlier when we were talking about the imprint of families. Like, yes, Maui. Yeah. If you, yes. What? Yes. Do you want to get up here? What is happening tonight? It's because we're talking about family. It's my family, y'all. It's my little family in here. Just my baby girl and my man, the cat, apparently. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. Say it again. Okay.
My bad.
There we go.
I forgot I wasn't on I had muted it. Speaking of family,
yes.
I just had to relocate because don't look at my background.
Girl, all right.
Because my brother just got out of prison and he has company.
Okay, welcome home. I was waiting. I was making sure that I didn't say it before you said it. Wow.
You know, I honestly, I guess I didn't just bring it up because I just wanted to be like not related to what we were talking about. But now it was like perfect because I know everybody just saw me pick this camera up and walk around my house.
And that's okay too. That's what I mean. Like it is the imprint of family is just, I think it's safe to say that the imprint of family, good, bad, and different. So literally just the imprint of family is the longest lasting impression that one could ever have. And the point of it is because there's always a charge. Be very clear. So that's one beat. I guess part one of B tip of the week is to remember, is really just a reminder that the longest lasting impression that you will ever have is the imprint of your family. So part two, or that was part A, part B of your B tip of the week is because there's always a charge to everything. So your charge in knowing that and considering that is then for you to be sure that the imprint that you leave on your family, from the family that you came from and the family that you either have created or one day will create, is for you to leave such a lasting, positive, influential, impactful, imprint. It is so very, very important. And I remember, I think yesterday, maybe a few days, sometime this week. What's today? Thursday. So it was this week that it was a man, and it happened to be around the same age as my dad. And so I was like walking, I was doing my miles around the lake. And so he catches up with me. He's just like, hey, you're doing a good pace. Like we just started talking about that. And then I told y'all people just love to talk about their stuff. And so come to get out of it that, he and his sister are considering, or at least kind of started, but not really, on this book about their mother. And just because he started talking about like the history of their mom and all that, and just some things. And I was just like, please, like,
I love that.
Right. Thank you. Like, I just was like, please finish that.
You I can appreciate it.
Right.
My brother.
See,
and so have some things on the works together. As far as,
I'm very glad to hear that, because I'll be honest, and I won't get too much into it, but just how you reverence your mother and the work that you're doing, I think that would be so good. Like, it's so good. It's so much good around it. Like, I love to hear you just talk about like, because it ignited me of just the very first time that you mentioned that she was an entrepreneur. Like, what? Yes. Like, yes. Coming back. Yes. Like, do that, because again, of the imprint that families leave on you. Like, no matter, how things go, whatever happens, like, family still leaves that imprint. And so unfortunately it does turn into, if ever, for those of you out there that you may be, and I get it, this show is not to leave anyone out. I totally hear you. If you are someone that, might be scoffing at the idea of like, family, good imprint. Okay. But I'll tell you that I think it's safe to say, I think I can safely conclude that all of us have something about our family.
Yeah.
That in this day and age, because we're not far beyond working through all of the family trauma, we're not far removed from the familial, I don't know, queries or what's the word? Quarrels. That's the word I'm looking for. Familial quarrels. Like we're not far removed from that yet, right? And I do think that some of that we can see in our lifetime, and then generations to pass them on to. And so, for those of you that again are scoffing at the idea of like my family this or they ain't this or they don't feel this way, but I'm the black sheep, as am I. How about here's the balance that I have to sit in these two seats and wear these two hats. I am both the black sheep of the family as well as the matriarch of my family. Put that together. Okay. So
it's so funny. I wasn't always the black sheep, but I feel like I am now.
And to grow into the black sheep. Ooh.
Yeah, because I was I've always been a person who wanted to be accepted and wanted to be liked. And so I moved in a way that I knew that my family would accept and like.
Mm-hmm.
And now as I venture off into things that they don't necessarily like, maybe don't necessarily fully see the vision, I do get skulks like, what are you doing? Like, go back to work.
Shout out to all entrepreneurs, man. I get it.
But one of the things too that I actually, while we were just talking, it came back to mind. Something I learned about my mother while working at social services, and actually discovering that, first of all, it's not a publicized benefit that social services offers, even though they very much do offer it. But the thing is that most people are not eligible for it. So most people don't get it. Also, they don't publicize it. So most people don't even know about it.
Right.
So like they do food stamps or whatever. And so while at Department of Social Services, I found out that the Department of Social Services helps people fund their business. And so you have to be it has to be fully organized. You have to have a business plan. You have to have like a certain percentage of the money towards whatever you're starting, whatever you need for your startup costs. And you have to show like lots of documents and proof. I didn't even know about it. A customer came in when I was working there and asked me about it. And I was like, I've never heard of it. So I go to the back, asked a couple of supervisors. One supervisor was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so then another supervisor overheard it and said, oh, go ask such and such. She's been here for a long time. She should know. So I go talk to her and she was like, yeah. She was like, it exists, but they're probably not eligible. Nobody hardly ever is eligible. And I've actually only seen two, she said maybe not even two people, maybe one person get it in the whole 20-something years I've been working here, right? Wow. Now, I'm a little nosy. Now, of course, I wasn't supposed to do this, but I did look my mother up in our system because social services system dates back. Like, you can go back decades.
Wow.
So I took my mother's name in, not that same day, but like later on down the line.
Yeah.
Type my mother's name in, wound up like, you can see all the narration because that's something that's a requirement at social services to narrate on a case and like what the person is applying for, what they have, if they're going to get it, if they got it, blah, blah, blah. And so my mother actually received that benefit from social services when she was living. And the crazy thing is she received it 2 months before she passed. Yep. When I saw that, first of all, I was floored and I was like, I was impressed.
Yeah, right? Yes, so that's exactly how I feel. Right, go girl. Yes, wow.
And I was just like so incredibly moved, just even like reading this narration and like, wow, she was on her stuff.
Okay.
Like, and da 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 da. And usually it's something to, was it? Whatever it was, I'm sorry. I don't think that it's to start your business. It's to help you get something for your business.
Okay.
Like
that's even better.
So my mother was a makeup artist.
Yes.
And so she needed a new car. Her car went up. And so she traveled to do
Okay.
different things. And so in order for them to help her pay for this car, she had to prove that she had a business and that she had to come up with a business plan. She had to come with all of this stuff. And I'm sure that my grandfather helped her because my grandfather was a lawyer.
Okay.
And so it's just like so many things like generationally that kind of like pour into me that make me feel like I know that I'm destined for greatness on whatever level it may be. It may not be like, oh, I blow up and be rich and famous, you know, because that doesn't have to be a thing
Right.
to define the success.
That's it. That's your B tip of the week, people. Woo! Keep talking, Jazz. That's good.
So, you know, my grandfather was a lawyer and he used to tell me all the time, Jazz, I'm not a good lawyer, or, oh, I don't have as many clients and whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, there are people who walk this earth that say, oh, I wish I could be a lawyer or wanted to be a lawyer, did not become a lawyer. He became a lawyer. He had his own office actually right here on Liberty Road.
Papa.
And so I knew my grandfather to be a lawyer.
Right, period. Yes.
And participate and go to court.
Yes. A lawyer. Hey, attorney Papa. Hi.
You're a rich lawyer, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Practice lawyer, which is impressive.
And it is. Again, I love that you brought up this word impressive again, because that's exactly the word that keeps coming to mind of just the feeling that you will want. And it's for those of us that either already have children or that plan to have children, or that will have children, that I think of, and it's, no, let me take that off of there. That includes us, yes. But I want to even go even broader than that, because I keep thinking of just generation to generation. So generations from us. So if you are an auntie, if you are the big cousin, if you are, you know, the uncle, the godfather, the godmother, whomever, if you have children in your lives that you are responsible for leaving an imprint, an impact, an impression, right? You want to make it a good one because of that, because eventually you would want them to look back on you. And no, that does not mean, don't get it twisted of, you know, well, I'm not about to be that friend. I ain't that little friend. Or, we can talk about all that later, right? But just that the idea is for them to look back, it's eventually, and to have this feeling of, you know, I'm impressed, especially because it has little really to do with what you did or what you said versus how you were, who you were, and then what they learn eventually. So as we are learning and delving into, you know, entrepreneurship, where I can follow what you're saying, because it's like almost every day, and especially now that I have finally yielded to, you know, this entrepreneurial journey, right, and path for my life that I never, still, it baffles me. I never thought this was my call, okay? Like, it makes me salute the mailman even more. It makes me salute, you know, not just entrepreneurs, but anyone in any perspective that they find themselves. Like, I legit save, speaking of, actually, so it's my daughter's Gigi. So, hey, Nikki, I know you said you wish you caught it from the beginning, but you're here now. We love you. That's my daughter's Gigi, y'all. And I'm telling you, like, you talk about family, because I haven't gotten to the point of talking about, y'all see, we ain't talking nothing about differentiating and distinguishing between biological, and if it's your family, it's your family. Okay, that's it. That is who I want you to, when you lay your head down on your pillow tonight and go, you know, just get your good rest, you know, have that in mind. The good feels of who it is that you call and see and know to be your family, have those people in mind, right? When you go to pray tonight, when you go to meditate, you know, you go to fast tomorrow, whatever you are doing, do it in the name of family, right? And so I got veered off for a second, but I really reverence and honor everyone in their own respective, because even small things, and small because it's just something I thought to do more recently, that folks that I know that, prime example, one by being Veterans Day, so definitely another shout out to the veterans. And one in particular is who I call my sister. Y'all have seen her. She was on show a long time. It was actually the first time y'all even met Jasmine on a panel. So my sister Andrea, she is in the Army. She has been in there for some time now, and she has semi-recently received another promotion, and so she's a sergeant. So I have her, there's a funny name that I call her, like I play off of her actual name, Wandrea. I call her Wandrea, whatever. But I have her in my phone as Sergeant Wandrea. So back to my daughter's Gigi, because that is who she is now. She's not my Nikki anymore. She's not my Nick. She's Gigi. And so, but before she retired, which all that, it's like people's accomplishments have always moved me, right?
Yeah.
And so the things that keep in mind, this is for us too, when we just continue to navigate through our families, right? And I'm swerving around the traumas and things. It's not ignoring them, but we don't always have to only keep those in mind, is my point. Remember earlier we talked about balancing. Yeah. And so as you're still navigating through your families, and just even if you're struggling tonight with like the charge that I gave each of you, that as you're laying down for rest tonight, to think of the good of your family, if you're struggling with that, you know, then there's just some small things that you could think of. And so think of things that people that you know and that your family members have done that you know that mattered to them, whether you agree with it or not. So it's very important for you to consider, practice that first, because we know that the dynamic between us and our families, we absolutely see that in our, you know, romantic relationships, in our friendships, right? It leaves that impression, right? And so with that being said, again, something you really want to practice now, just with your family alone, is being able to celebrate, back to what Jasmine was talking about, that, you know, she said she had some family that's just like, girl, go back to work. What you what are you doing? And so people are, as we keep in mind.
Matter of fact, I had a family member today. It's so funny because some of my family acts like I'm looking for work. Ooh. And I'm like, and I think that it's like people try to convince me to go back, like, oh, I heard about this job, you would be perfect for it. Like my cousin came today because, you know, I've been, my brother and everybody's wanting to see him, and so one of my cousins came earlier, like really trying to sell me on this $100,000 a year job, right? $100,000.
Right.
And he like, Jasmine, like, it's $100,000.
Right. That's great.
Okay. What you mean? Like,
right? Because they see something to keep in mind, that people just will not see the vision, and that includes your family, and that's okay. Y'all notice my favorite thing to say, whatever the it is, and add, and that's okay, because it is. If they don't see it, that's fine. That's still not to stop you. Last week we talked about the conversation that you're having with you and between you and yourself. The conversation that you're going to have to continuously encourage yourself, because even your family, those that you might even be struggling to swerve around the traumas and the betrayal and the this and the that, and keep in mind the good, you know, you're doing double work, because you're also encouraging yourself, like, okay, but that's why if you balance out with working through the traumas and the misunderstandings and all of that, and being left out and being the black sheep and taking on the role of being the matriarch or the patriarch or whomever, whatever your role is, and then balancing out what it is that you still need to do to keep you. It is about you. And so in order to do that, and so like I said, just last point is that I again, keeping in mind of what is important to them and celebrating that. That's a very good practice, because like I was saying, just back to
that's a good point.
Right. Like just back to my daughter's Gigi, that I literally have her before she retired, which again, just retirement is a big deal to me, and I'm so excited for her about. And then before then, she had gotten a promotion and she's a sergeant. Like, you can't tell me nothing. I literally have her in my phone as Sergeant Gigi. Like, shout out to Sergeant Gigi. Like it's things that matter, right? Like it's things that matter to other people that you can celebrate them for. I know nothing about Department of Corrections. I know nothing about it, but she worked in it. She did well. I salute her, because I know it ain't for me. And, you know, and then to move up in the chain and to handle her business and to be respected, like those different things, because again, it's keeping in mind people in their own right, in their own position. The fact that somebody gets up. See, I think the issue is that we forget all that it takes and that it entails for us to get up and do what it is that we do throughout our days. Entrepreneurs, those of us who working 9 to 5, those of us completely unemployed doing nothing, whatever it takes, is you're still getting up and thriving and doing something right now. Even if you're just breathing, you're still deciding to do that because you could have chosen not to. So for anyone that has ever considered anything other than that, I'm proud of you, and I'm glad that you are still here, right? And so to appreciate somebody just doing what it is that they do throughout the day, because we downplay what we do throughout the day often. But then for whatever reason, we can find it easy to look upon somebody else and be like, oh, I'm proud of you, got up and did that. So keep that in mind. I really be proud of somebody that just got up, put their uniform on, even though, mind you, I'm recently delving into my own entrepreneurship, right? But I definitely still salute like 100-fold somebody getting up, putting their uniform on and going to their job. Like, you drove, you worked through traffic, you found a parking space. If they took your parking space, whatever, you missed breakfast, you got breakfast, you didn't do your morning routine, whatever, you dropped the kids off to school, whatever, and still pressed your way and went and did your job. And then for the folks that do it well and excel at it and just gave it their all, like, that's a big deal for me. That's one thing I look forward to, of just the people that I call my people. I'm so proud of in their day-to-day operations and functions. Like, you did something, okay, you took a nap today, I'm proud of you. That's a big deal. You allowed yourself to rest, like, whatever it is. I'd be so grateful to God. Like, when I go into prayer for y'all and I pray for the viewers, for the people, like, I pray for everyone. Like, that is just on me to cover people. And so when I do that, it's really praising God for the things that y'all may sleep on, the things that you may not even be proud of yourself, or may not pause in a moment to be proud of yourself and pat yourself in the back for, I'm proud of you. And all of that goes right around into the topic of, can we just talk about family? This is the B-Mix family. Y'all are my family. Like, again, so it goes right into the idea of not necessarily having to be blood and biological. Absolutely reverence those people too, though, because you're part of that family for a reason. That is your charge, to be a part of that family and to make the best of that. Right. Despite whatever you have experienced. And I am, aware that some situations are worse than others. And, some things are just really bad. There is also, hear me good. There is always some good out of something, even if it's a lesson. It's probably the best good out of it. Okay. So it's for you to be able to see that, because sometimes, and that's my last point for now, I promise. Sometimes it's on us because we may have missed the impression that was intended to be left upon us. Don't miss that impression that's left on, because sometimes we may choose the impression. I'm not saying always, but definitely sometimes that, somebody can give and give and give and all and give all the good. And it might have been to the best of their ability to be able to, love you in the way that you seem so that you need and that you may have vocalized or whatever. But somehow, some way, there's somebody that just still wants to complain, and you still want to only hold on to what was not done, or the small, tiny little things that may not have been done, right? And I'm not saying that you don't have the right to feel how you feel about what may not have been done, or how something was done unto your liking, to your disliking. But again, back to the balance of considering the good along with everything else. There is good in
looking back at the situation with fresh eyes,
That's it.
And not from a hurt maybe child, or a child that doesn't fully understand the adult world, and then you grow up and then get certain things that you didn't get when you were younger, And I definitely can attest to that. Now, I did think that my grandparents were super unfair and like overprotective, and I'm like, my friends are allowed to do it. And they used to love to say, just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean you need to do it. If somebody was jump off the bridge, they love to say that to me. And I used to be like, what kind of example is that? Like, I was always that child that was like a little bit debative. I definitely used to get popped in the mouth and like punished for talking back, even though I wasn't going to actually get punished originally. But like, you know what? You talk too much. Now you punish. So, but now realizing that, even though I hated that example, because it was just like, of course I'm not going to jump off a bridge. Like,
right. I hate that. Like, no, I'm not. Like, no, I don't want to do that.
Like, won't I die?
Right. And then I'll be the one, like, now I'm sad at the thought of thinking that my friends would jump off a bridge. Like, now I want to call them and check on them. Like, child, it was deep. It was deep for me.
But now I do.
Right.
And the thing is that, all parents are not created alike. That's number one. Some parents don't have the same expectations for their children as other people do. And so, when you want your child to turn out to be a certain way, sometimes your rules are a little more strict. Or if you want to keep your child from harm and you're a little bit more cautious of a person, I get it now. Like, now that I am an adult, now I'm like definitely that person that's like, oh my goodness, why are they letting their children have their hair dyed when they're only like
Yeah, it's inevitable that we turn into those people.
When I was 12, I was mad. Like,
right.
It's just a little color. But now I get it from adult eyes. Being a person who became 16, 17 and was shapely and being approached by adult men and now and presenting myself in a quote unquote adult manner along with this adult body, even though my age says that I'm whatever, that puts me in danger. Yeah. And so just that alone, like, and of course, hair coloring to some people is mild, and that was a mild example that I used. But we definitely got things past that, and so not to judge anybody, but now I'm the person that I wasn't. I didn't view it that way when I was that young. Now that I'm an adult, I view it that way. And so, when I have kids, my daughter will probably be like, "Why can't I put trick in my hair?"
Listen.
So
okay, not happening. It's not happening. And what I love about this, if we just stick with hair alone, or just not even just hair, but like natural appearance, right? Yeah. Natural beauty. That's one thing. That's what I said. I can't help but think about things in long term and then think about them deeply, because what I really love is that the more we push and not even just push, but show and display our appreciation for natural state, natural beauty, natural hair, natural, hair in the natural state, everything, right? Is that I think eventually, because we have to consider, like, I think there's a loophole right here. Like, there's this part of the generation here that, is all about give me the weaves and give me the nails and this. But I probably think a little more about this, but because this just came to me because of what you said. But I think like the actual next generation, because they're millennials, right? Yeah. And then there's like, what was that, Generation Z, Generation X? But then it's right in between the two, right? Yeah, those folk, and you be like, so technically they're a part of our generation. They're the youngest. I think I forget what year. I don't know, it was like 92.
If you were born in 1996, that's the last year.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. I don't know why I was about to say 92. But like 96. So it's like for them to be, there's still a younger part of our generation. I think that's the part, right? That we're like, well, we're disconnected from them. And then so I can understand they probably feel, at some part left out. But so past them though, like I think younger than that and the generation after that, and then the next ones to continue to come on, I think it'll catch, on to be like, hey, like, I know I'm not trying to keep you, from this. Like, it's because really I love, if you want to lock your hair, if you want to do that, okay, like, let's go natural. If you want to do something radical, instead of it being, because our radical was because we came from the press and curl days, the hot comb, the kiss my neck, ouch, days of this is the beauty. And so it's like, well, honestly, they really couldn't fault us, even if I'm sure they did not think of it this way, but you really couldn't fault us for our radical idea of like expressing ourselves in our hair was like hair color, because what else have you shown me that is a beauty that I can, gravitate toward, like besides just coloring it, because other than that, you've already told me that my natural state isn't pretty. So they didn't understand that what was, being pushed and said, or rather what was not being said, was speaking louder than what was actually being pushed for and said. So it is like, again, about the impression of family, like of just what we know to be. And I love how we embrace, our blackity black, coming from black mamas, coming from black daddies, black grandparents, and all that, black aunties and uncles. But there's a lot to embrace, and of course there's a lot to let go of. Definitely a lot,
just little statement, just a little funny. Just a little funny. I wasn't allowed to get my hair colored until I was 16. And let me tell you, ever since I've been 16, I've been coloring my hair. Because, like, I am obsessed. Like, that real, that's like, I'm obsessed. Like, I swear, my natural hair color bores me. And I think that's just because I am just like a person that likes to, like, express herself in, like, fun ways. Like, I don't want to see just my dark brown hair all around. Like, even though it's cool. Yeah. I don't never try to get rid of it completely. I'm more of a highlights person than an actual like full on dye.
Yeah.
But sometimes I've done it myself and went a little bit overboard.
Listen, and it happens to the best of us, and that's okay. I remember distinctly that for whatever reason, I wish I could remember what age I was when I started thinking about this. I was weird. And I was totally okay with being weird. But at some point, I remember the two fascinations that I had. I wanted blue hair and a tongue ring. And I like, those are just my things. And so, of course, neither of the two was like, and both my mom and dad were really big on like my hair. Like, just, you can't cut it. My mother hated that. I remember that, I think it was when I turned 10 or 11 or something, that, or 12, I don't know. One of those 3 ages where she had always, younger than then, she'd always said, once you turn this age, then that's when you can get your hair perm. Mm-hmm. And I held her to it like, Daddy, Mommy said, and I'm 12 now, so I can. And so she did it, and of course I loved it, I was obsessed, and blah, blah, blah. And so that was like the only like, okay, but you definitely can't cut it. Like, nope, it's not. No. And so just keeping hair and keeping it long and thick and pretty, blah, blah, blah. And so whatever age I was, and I was just like, yep, I want blue hair. I want a tongue ring because I thought it was the coolest thing ever, like a hole in your tongue. That's amazing, right? For not thinking. So I love that you said about how the things that we wouldn't be able to think of and consider. But of course, as we get older, like, oh, okay, I get it. And something about me, I don't know why, it was part of my weirdness. My weird side is a very long list. That I used to, I think I got out of it once because eventually I did get my tongue pierced. But anyway, beforehand though, I used to always play with my tongue a lot. Like, literally just be sitting there thinking, just whatever. And so I'm sure, like, as parents, they're like, oh, first of all, no, right? And then you play with just like, no, you won't. Like, you won't be sitting there twisting, no. Right? Like,
what you been doing?
Right. Like, you ain't gonna be luring nobody in on that. So got it. But I didn't get it then. So of course, the first time when I got it done, blah, 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 I was able to hide it for as long as I could. But and I was not this kid, and then I was of getting something and hiding it. But it's just so to think about that when you said about like the hair color and all that, of just, how things could be viewed. And then with the hair, it was just like, no, like, you can't put any chemical. And it's funny because I don't think they meant it this way of like, oh, keep the hair in a natural state. But I guess technically that's what they were pushing for as far as like the no color thing, I guess, especially because of the color that I wanted too. And so I found that it was gorgeous. It was so pretty, but they just were not having it. And so where was I going with that? I'm not sure. I was chiming in on it, and I swear I had a point that I was trying to get to. Totally lost it. But
I wanted a nose ring. Period. And I finally got it this year in January.
Really? I feel like I've seen you with different.
No, girl, that was my promise to myself. I said, I am continuing to do things that I've always wanted to do to express myself. Yes. I had to get this nose ring because that is important, because I've always wanted one, and then always felt like it was like unprofessional. That's why I didn't get it. But now I'm like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay, I got the freedom, baby.
And then when it happened, I was like,
give me 2 of them.
I was like, oh, what did I do? That is killing me. And then he handed me that mirror, and I was like, it was all worth it.
Wow, I feel like you've had it. Wow. So you've just had it this year. Go, girl. Good for you. I would not have think
yet.
I would not. I just said I would not have think. I would not have thought that you just got. Well, not to say just, but that means that that is a look for you, because now. And it's so funny because I did get mine and never ever wanted. Like, I swear, I know the story on everything else, but that I do not. I have no clue. So I'm not even gonna try to sit here and waste some minutes and try to figure out where it came from. But either way, I just got it done, and then I've definitely loved it ever since. I know the one thing, once I finally got my nose Pierce though, that I always saw people with the hoop, and I was just like, I like it, but there's no way. And I think one, I thought about professionalism, and just really always consider is about that self-talk, y'all. Now we're sitting here talking you into getting your nose pierced. No, not necessarily. If you're so moved, right. I was say if you're so moved, but it's not like we're sitting here like, go get it, everybody. But I will say that there's always a lesson to get out of something. And so the self-talk that I always had, I always, listen to. So this is why it's important to remember about impression that's left upon us, because I know that I've been made fun of like having a big nose, and my dad has a big nose. He's known for having a big nose, whatever. And so it was so like, oh, you have a big nose like your dad, and da da da. So I always just saw this and then I really look at myself in the mirror even these days and be like, bruh, it's so proportionate to my face. Like,
yeah.
I remember watching a video earlier today, and shout out to Toby Nigwe.
I love him.
Oh my Lord, his whole movement. But there's a
matter of fact, thank you for bringing up his name, because I want to put my brother onto him.
I hope Aaron falls in love with him like I think everybody else is. Like, oh my goodness. Yeah, put him on to him. He's definitely a black, a fresh vibe. And you know what? I happened to just bring him up because of the video that I'm talking about, because it was his Facebook watch that where they were just talking about just being just unapologetically black, like even just the little quirks that we have within our community, just being that. And so I remember like a woman, like she was like, yes, I'm like, okay, I have a wide nose, okay. And I remember looking at the video, like I wasn't looking at it, I was just listening to it, and I looked at it, I'm like, she don't even have a big nose. Like the things that we will say, so what? It's different, I'm sure, than a white person's nose, but it should be. You ain't white, okay?
You're not white.
Okay, so it's just all that. But I'm so glad that you even ignited me about bringing him up, because I think that's a perfect way to even end the show. Like, look at the movement that this man is on. And I don't know if anybody else really thinks of him and reverence him the way that I think of him, which is just, his music is good. Yes. Yeah. His vibe, he said he designs their look. He just does. Yes. But the man is such a family man.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Like,
his wife is in every music video.
The way he just has the babies. He's a proud.
I need all of this other extra stuff in the video.
A proud black daddy.
About that?
Whew. Like, it's that alone for me. Give me that. I want to marry into a family that we are so good. Our unit is just so built up, filled up with all of this. And then, so I know I said I want that family, to marry into one where their family's like this. But at the least, if I had that, then me coming from whatever happened in my family, your family being whatever. Listen, it's us. So either way, cultivate black family. That's it. That's all I got tonight.
I'm so happy. And I just want to reiterate how happy I am that you brought him up, because my brother likes a lot of trap music, and I ain't going to say that I dislike it, but I just want to open his world up, just a little bit more, because he's already opened his mind up. Mm-hmm. But also, music is a powerful download.
Oh, yes, very.
And so it could very easily keep you, or not keep you, but also have you still moving in the same old mindset.
Yes, it can.
That you are seeking to move yourself from, And I ain't saying that he can't listen to trap music at all. And plus, he's a grown man. So he's going to do what he want to do.
Right.
But I think that it is something that he could
feed his
receive well. I think that he would like it. I'm sure that, he was in prison for 7.5 years. So, certain, just in that environment alone, only certain types of music are really like, popular in there, and so they have like access to BET and stuff like that. So like, well, maybe not BET, but the radio at least. So, Toby don't really get played on 92K.
Right.
So,
How about that?
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. And that's one of the things I'm happy about, even with just music in general now, is that people are really expanding past what everybody is supposed to be listening to, and really going and saying, what should I be listening to?
How about that? That is it. What should I be listening to? Not just music, what it is that people are saying to you, how it is that somebody is conveying a message to you, what you see around you, what you think about and imagine outside of your immediate environment is so important, because there are so many different buckets that are pouring into you, and it's up to you to choose what it is that leaves an imprint on.
Yes.
That leaves a lasting impression. So we know that family is the longest lasting impression, but it's still your choice to allow that to impact you in a way that, or how you, I guess, regenerate that and what you put out from what it is that's been poured into you. So please, if you do nothing else, remember the good in your family, because there's so much of it. Don't get stuck on believing that there's just so much trauma and so much this. While there may be, there is good in it too, y'all. Okay?
Right.
Trust me. Y'all heard us talk tonight. There's plenty of good all up and through everything else that may come to mind in family, and hold on to that. Do not let go of the significance of family, of the empowerment that you receive naturally from your family environment, from your familial environment, from your family unit. It's important for you to keep that in mind. With that being said, all hearts are clear. On one accord, I say thank you from me and Jazz. This has been another episode of the B Mix. Thank you, Jasmine, for coming back, hanging with us, talking about family. Thank you for sharing your experiences. I honor you for them. Thank you for your strength. And for each of you out there, we love you. And until next time, man, peace.
Hi. I'm Jasmine.